There is a huge and baffling array of historical anomalies still hiding across the Giza Plateau. Melted steps, melted stone, melted sand, megaliths of gigantic, almost impossible proportions, and so on. Yet one of the most intriguing of all these peculiar unexplained relics must be those which have an extraterrestrial origin. There are undoubtedly many secrets still contained in, around, and beneath these gigantic structures, chambers which, when opened, experience media blackouts, only to return to report that said tomb was looted earlier in its life and was apparently found empty. The real question, then, is what are the Egyptian antiquities hiding? Could there be more artifacts or objects with extraterrestrial connections still to be found? In particular, within Cheops itself. King Tut's dagger, which was once struck from metals with alien origins, may just be one piece in a set. Rumors abound in regards to the possible existence of an entire throne attributed to Khufu himself, which was not only made from the same alien materials, but could still be hidden within the Great Pyramid. Professor Giulio Magli of Milan Polytechnic, for example, believes the throne of the pharaoh Khufu is concealed in a secret chamber deep within Cheops itself. Quote, "There is a possible interpretation which is in good agreement with what we know about the Egyptian funerary religion as witnessed in the pyramid's texts. In these texts, it is said that the pharaoh, before reaching the stars of the north, will have to pass the gates of the sky and sit on his throne of iron." End quote. Now, thanks to scanned pyramids and the use of penetrative technologies, a new mystery chamber is in the crosshairs. Currently designing an inflatable robot to explore the space, the robot can be pushed into empty spaces via a 1.5-inch keyhole drilled into the wall, then inflated into a blimp-like drone. Lead researcher Dr. Jean-Baptiste Moret told Digital Trends, quote, "The main challenge is to insert a complete exploration robot in a hole that is as small as possible." End quote. The question remains, where did all this meteoric material originate from? Was there a catastrophic event in our past, one responsible for not only these materials, but the number of other melted artifacts within Giza? Although only speculation at the moment, but the possible existence of the throne is, no doubt, highly compelling. We will keep you posted.